Hey guys, welcome. We're trying something new today. I've discovered a voice to text function on my computer, so I'm going to give that a try. Those of you who have successfully avoided hearing my voice all year on these videos sucks. I finally figured a way to make you hear what I'm saying or at least see it. So we're going to jump on in. Today's essential question is on the screen. How did the Cold War escalate or get worse during the 1960s? So in this video, we're going to learn 4 things together. First, we're going to define the term foreign policy. Then we're going to look at some examples during the 60s, including the Berlin Wall, the Bay of Pigs, and my favorite, the Cuban Missile Crisis. So first off, foreign policy, what does that mean? Well, if we're talking about something foreign, we're talking about something international, right, outside of the United States. So our foreign policy means our plan as a country and our president's plan of how we're going to work with other countries, right? So how are we going to make alliances? How are we going to wage war or use our military? Or even economic things, like how are we going to trade with other places around the world? And so now that we know what foreign policy means, well, one, I'm going to have you draw it in your notes of what it looks like to you. And then we're going to talk about 3 examples of foreign policy events during Kennedy's presidency. So we're going to start with the Berlin Wall. Now we're going to spend, I think, a little bit of time at the end of this unit talking more about the Berlin Wall. But for now, we should know that it is an actual wall that was put in place by the Soviet leader we've talked about, or we will be talking about today, Nikita Khrushchev, who's the leader of the Soviet Union. And he creates an actual wall that separates, cuts off East Berlin from West Berlin. Berlin is the capital of Germany. And the reason this is important is because East and West Berlin, while they're in the same country, they're operated and run by different countries at this point. So after World War II, Germany gets cut up a little bit. And when it comes to Berlin, West Berlin was controlled by the Allies. It was run by the United States and the people we supported the war with. East Berlin was controlled by the Soviet Union, and so it was under communist control. And because the Soviet leader was controlling East Berlin, he creates this actual physical wall, which is actually pictured right here in front of you, that separated the 2 societies. And so we know that there's, actually a division between communism in the East, right, this side of the wall, communism in the East, and democracy and capitalism on the West. And so with that in mind, let's talk about the Bay of Pigs. So shifting back to the United States, big event. Kennedy has just been president for less than a year. And this is his first big thing. The United States has had this secret plan, and this was before Kennedy was president. This was under President Eisenhower. There's this plan of how do we get rid of this guy, Fidel Castro, right, the leader of Cuba, which is a communist country only 90 miles from our coast. How do we get this guy out? How do we overthrow him? Cuba was friendly and an ally with the Soviet Union, and we are becoming a little freaked out by that idea. And so this plan is created. And the plan is we are going to invade Cuba. We're going to use, Cubans who are upset with their government, who want to see Fidel Castro out. We're going to train them. We're going to supply them. We're going to drop them off here in the Bay of Pigs, which is circled on our map. And they're going to lead this invasion of Cuba. They're going to move throughout the country, and people will rally behind them, and they will fight with them. And what happened was, it was pretty much a disaster from the start. These, ex-Cubans, they landed in the Bay of Pigs, they start fighting, and there's no surprise. The government knew that we were coming, and they were pretty quickly defeated. Unfortunately, there was no uprising, right? There was nobody came to their rescue. And it was ultimately a really embarrassing foreign policy failure on Kennedy's part. Not too long after this huge failure comes another test. And so, it's a year later. Kennedy's learned a little bit more. He's no longer trusting his generals, right? His generals, his military advisors that say, hey, Mr. President, this is going to work. We've played out the scenarios. We're good. This is going to be great. We're going to overthrow Castro and have a democracy installed in Cuba. He's not trusting that advice anymore because it did not work the first time. And so the next test is what we're going to spend the next majority of class talking about. So I'm not going to give away the answer quite yet. But we're going to see Castro and Khrushchev see how, Kennedy was behind, and the United States was behind the Bay of Pigs invasion, that, Kennedy didn't follow through, did not support the Cuban invaders with U.S. military support. And so they say, well, we want to make sure that Cuba's protected. And we don't think Kennedy is going to be strong enough to put up too much of a fight. And so they decide to build these missile silos where nuclear weapons could be moved from the Soviet Union to Cuba, which would threaten the United States, right? For the United States to have weapons pointed at us 90 miles away, that's a very serious thing, and something that brings the world almost to the brink. And that's what we're going to focus the remainder of class. We're going to look at some scenarios. We're going to kind of like a choose your own adventure. Going to have you choose your character, learn about that character, and see what decisions you're going to make with, of course, the ultimate goal of avoiding nuclear war. So let's take a look at these notes, give them a summary, and jump on into the game. Good luck and try not to blow us all up.